Hey friends, Rabbi Jenny Solomon here in Raleigh, North Carolina, with Beth Meyer Synagogue, here for a mincha moment. So I'll let you in on a little secret. Rabbis usually give the sermon that they need to hear. So today's reflection on this week's Torah portion is really the sermon that I need to hear. This week's Torah portion is Vaethanan. Vaethanan means to plead, and it refers to Moses, our teacher, and his pleading with God to really for God to change God's mind, so to speak, and to let Moshe into the promised land with the people. As you may remember, a couple Torah portions back, God asks Moses to bring forth water from the rock to give to the thirsty people in the wilderness. And in Moses's frustration, presumably, instead of speaking to the rock, which is what God asks, Moshe hits the rock. And in striking the rock, there is a consequence for that action. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about is that even though Moshe understands on some level that he is not going to enter the promised land, at least not as he had hoped, he insists on pleading with God anyhow. The rabbis even go so far as to say that the word Vaethanan and Moshe pleaded, the gematria, the numerical value of that word, is 515, as if Moshe pleaded that many times. So in my own spirituality, it's very rare anymore that I ask for specific outcomes or something in particular that I want to receive. I probably did that as a child and maybe into my teen years or young adult years, but it's been a very long time since I've actually pleaded for some sort of outcome. But I have a kid who's trying to get home from Israel with tight connections, multiple flights, and the complexities of air travel in the world that we live in, and is starting his senior year in high school tomorrow morning. So as I settled into my own prayer today, I was tempted. Please, God, let my kid get through customs, catch his flight, and land in my arms. I don't care what time, into the wee hours of the morning, and let him arrive home safely, and let me get him off somehow, some way, to school tomorrow, despite the jet lag and everything else. But I know that life doesn't work that way. So here's where the chen of Vaethanan came in, the grace, the loving kindness. It was really in me remembering that while praying for such outcomes is not really a part of my understanding of Jewish prayer and not a part of my spiritual practice, the ability to express the truth, the full truth of my longing, of my yearning, of my heart's desire, of my worry, of my anxiety, of my utter awareness of my lack of control, that is prayer. So I pray this prayer that he should get home safe, not so much because I believe that God is the kind of God who would change, the flights midair and facilitate that sort of outcome. But God is the kind of God that gives me space and permission and grace, chen, ve'etchanan, to reveal and to know and to be fully aware of my deepest truth, my deepest emet. There's a line in Ashrei, which we traditionally recite that psalm in the morning and also, of course, on Shabbat. And it's the way that we open our afternoon mincha prayers. And one of the lines is, Karov Adonai lechol korav lechol asher yikruhu ve'emet. That God is near to all who call out, ve'emet, in truth. And that truth sometimes is the prayer of a person who wants a specific outcome, a child to come home safe and sound. And I could feel God's nearness even in my willingness and my permission to be with the fullness of that truth. All right, friends, hope this is helpful to someone else besides myself. But as I said, rabbis give the sermons they need to hear. So wishing everyone just a little bit of chen, a little bit of the grace that is embedded within Vaethanan, this week's Torah portion. The permission to pray and know that we may not get the answers we desire, but we have permission to be flush with the truth of our experience. Shalom, peace.